What up, Bucs fans, NFL fans, and gambling fans? Welcome back to week 3 of Pewter Picks and Props as we break down the Buccaneers versus the Broncos. Also get into some college picks and other NFL picks around the league. I'm your host, Matt Matera, and this, of course, is brought to you by PewterReport.com. Got a lot of picks this week. Very excited to share them with you all. We're going 7 in college football, 5 in the NFL. Of course, I always pick the Bucs game separately and plenty of player props to get to. I have loaded up on Bucs player props because I am crushing it in that area. I am 5-1 overall when it comes to Bucs player props, so you're really going to want to tune in to that one. Taking a look back at last week's picks, not the best week for me. Went 2-3 in college football. Had a winning record in the NFL, but did not get the Bucs game right. But like I said, fantastic with the player props. So this is my overall season record. College football 6-6, NFL 10-5. I'm 5-1 on Bucs player props. I haven't hit a touchdown prop yet. I've gone twice with Bucky Irving. I won't be going with Bucky this week. However, I'll have someone else in store for later in the show. So let's get right to it, ladies and gentlemen, starting with college football. First game on the docket, NC State plus 20 at Clemson. I know Clemson kind of bounced back after losing to Georgia, throttling their opponent the next week. NC State had a bad loss to Tennessee in a game that was in Charlotte. But sometimes when you get shaken up that badly, the means come back towards the middle. And NC State had a chance in that game against Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, but they threw a bad pick six, and that ultimately ended it. So while I do believe that Clemson is going to get the win and may even win convincingly, I think 20 points is a lot for an NC State team that, this is an ACC battle. They were ranked at 1 point, and I don't think they're as bad as that loss to Tennessee. So NC State plus 20 is the pick in this one. Next game, Arkansas State playing Iowa State. The over of 51. Shout out to Rocco Becht, a former Tampa civilian. Of course, his dad played for the Bucs, Anthony, back in the day, and the Jets. I've been doing a good job with Iowa State, a big win over Iowa a couple of weeks ago. He can sling the ball. This is obviously an inferior opponent with Arkansas State. So I see the Cyclones putting up a fair amount of points, and Arkansas State can mix it in here and there as well. So over 51 in Iowa State and Arkansas State. Sticking with Arkansas, going Arkansas-Auburn under 58.5. Arkansas is scrappy, but they make a fair amount of mistakes, and Auburn certainly isn't the Cam Newton era Auburn Tigers. Arkansas has been pretty high scoring, but I'm kind of zigging when everyone else is zagging here, or I guess I'm zagging when everyone else is zigging. A lot of people are predicting the over. I just think something's going to change. There's going to be a wacky play or something like that. Like I mentioned, the sloppiness of Arkansas, which leads to the under of 58.5 hitting in this game. A first-time Big Ten matchup, Michigan plus 6.5 at home facing USC. Big-time matchup for USC going from California to a true Big Ten area like Michigan. We know Michigan got smoked by Texas a couple of weeks ago. I think they kind of learned from their mistakes against Texas and really bulk up on the defensive side of things. USC is playing against true Big Ten football. Michigan finally gets that run game going that they've been looking for, and I could see them winning this game, honestly. I know USC got off to a hot start, but LSU still doesn't really have much of a defense. Michigan at home at the Big House. I like them plus 6.5. Next up, Utah going to Oklahoma State. I have Utah -2 in this one. I think their defense will travel, be able to shut down Oklahoma State. The Cowboys don't have much of a defense either. So Utah, not the most high-flying of teams, but they'll put up enough points and then, of course, rely on their defense as they typically do. So tough road matchup, probably one of the better games of the week. I got Utah -2 against Oklahoma State. Sticking with the state of Oklahoma, up next, one of the best matchups of the week as well, Tennessee going to Oklahoma to play Baker Mayfield's Sooners. Sorry to Baker, but I got Tennessee -7 against Oklahoma. I love Tennessee's quarterback, Nico. He's electric. He could do it with his legs. He can obviously do it with his arm as a quarterback. Tennessee's defense is okay. I think Oklahoma is a little overrated. Obviously they're pretty highly ranked, but every year Oklahoma gets smacked in the mouth at some point and, has a tough loss, or usually it's an upset loss. This really wouldn't be an upset with Tennessee being the favorite. I'm just a huge fan of Tennessee this year and what their quarterback does and how they can really move the ball on offense. So I'll take them going to Oklahoma. So Tennessee -7. And last but certainly not least, this is more of a system play. Ole Miss -36 at home facing Georgia Southern. Their offense is unstoppable, especially when they're going against lower opponents. They've already beat up on a number of smaller school teams this year. Ole Miss will probably score 50 on their own, 55, and I think they get enough stops to cover the -36. I know it's a large number. It's kind of scary, but Ole Miss, all they do is move the ball down the field. So I have no worries about their offense being able to put up, over 40 or whatever it may be. So those are my college football picks. Again, 7 of them. I'm 6-6 on the season, so looking to get a winning record after this week. But I've had 2 straight winning weeks in the NFL, and that's where we are going to next. We'll go around the league, and then I'll make my Bucs pick at the end along with player props. Starting with the under of 43 in Bears versus the Colts. Bears got a great defense. They'll be able to shut down Anthony Richardson, who really hasn't proven that much so far in his second year. I know he got injured a lot last year, but I don't see the Colts being able to move the football at all. Bears a little banged up on offense. Again, no Keenan Allen for the second straight week. Caleb Williams has struggled, and he has no offensive line. So this is going to be a low-scoring game. Bears defense may win it for Chicago. Colts already didn't put up a lot of points against the Packers last week. So give me the under of 43. A very exciting game, though, is going to be the over of 46 with the Texans and the Vikings. I think the Texans haven't even fully hit their rhythm yet on offense. Like they had some moments in their primetime game against the Bears, but still trying to work out some things. The Vikings, Sam Darnold, career resurgence. Their head coach can get great quarterback play out of anybody. Justin Jefferson's going to play. Texans defense did well against Chicago, but again, Chicago has no offensive line. Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, great play caller, great game planner, and coming up with schemes. So I think it's going to be a high-flying game. One of the teams gets 30-something. I think this game gets to over 50 points. So the fact that it's at 46, I'm a big fan of. Give me the over of 46. This next game is a rock fight. It's ugly. It's disgusting. But somebody has to win. Somebody has to cover. Just cover, like the hat says. So I'm taking the Giants plus 6.5 at the Browns. There's nothing impressive about the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson looks terrible. Everyone is talking about the demise of the Cleveland Browns, even though they got a win against the Jaguars and won 18-13. The Giants just lost in a embarrassing way, scoring touchdowns, but losing with Washington only kicking field goals. I still like the Giants pass rush. I think they'll be able to get to Deshaun Watson. They're an ugly team. They really need a win. Brian Daboll could be on the hot seat if he doesn't win. So because of that and the desperation and the fact that the Browns aren't really that much of a threat as a team, I'll take the Giants plus 6.5. This next one, in the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons are hosting the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, back-to-back champion Kansas City Chiefs. I was shocked at the way that the Falcons were able to come back against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. But the Eagles had no pass rush at all and refused to blitz. So I like the Chiefs -3.5. This is the Sunday night game. I know they're going on the road, but you got to test Kirk Cousins, make him move around in the pocket. Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs, loves to blitz. He is not going to make the mistake that the Eagles did by not sending pressure on Kirk Cousins. I don't know if Kirk Cousins will be able to hold up against the pass rush. Obviously, they got Chris Jones at defensive tackle, but he could also bump outside as well. And it's Patrick Mahomes. So I think it should be a good game. I'm a pretty big believer in the Falcons defense. I just don't trust Kirk Cousins just yet. And that drive on Monday night, while very impressive, I blame more of the Eagles defense than being wowed by Kirk Cousins hitting wide open guys down the field in a prevent defense. So I really like the Chiefs -3.5. I think that's going to be my lock of the week. Last game, Monday Night Football, the Bengals get back on track and cover -7.5 against the Washington Commanders. We've learned very early the Commanders have a terrible, horrible defense. So hopefully T. Higgins can play for the Bengals. He's missed the first 2 games of the season. But regardless if he's available or not, Joe Burrow will be able to do enough to, move the ball and score against the Commanders. And the fact that the Bengals are 0-2, they usually start out the year, at least since Joe Burrow's been in the league, they have not done a good job in the first month of the season. It usually takes them 3 or 4 games to truly get it going. But we're talking about a primetime game. Everybody's ready to hit the panic button on the Bengals. And because of that, I think they win this one with ease against the Commanders and cover at -7.5. So those are my NFL picks. Let's move on to my Bucs picks. I have 5 player props and also a touchdown prop. So 6 props overall. I'm picking the game, and then I have a kind of a specialty bet. I'm not going with the exact over-under, but you'll see what I mean in just a second. I really like the Bucs -7 against the Denver Broncos on Sunday. Denver's coming from Denver to Tampa, playing a 1 o'clock game, so there's already that time difference built in. I think the Bucs defense stifles Bo Nix. He can't throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field without it being a risky play. They also can't run the football, so that kind of neutralizes the fact that there's no Kalijah Kancey or Vita Vea in this game. Outside of one pass rusher for the Broncos, and Patrick Surtain obviously being a corner for Denver as well, there are not a lot of players to worry about on Denver's defense. So I think this is a great opportunity for the Bucs to run the football and get the ground game going, but even just as much, get some play action. Have some other role players being involved and not just relying on Mike and Chris, even though it's worked so far through 2 games. So I love the Bucs -7. I think they're going to win like 31-10, and it's never going to be close, especially if the Bucs can build a lead early on. Then you're forcing the Broncos to get one-dimensional, which they don't want to do, even though they can't run the football. So I think it's going to be a tough day for Bo Nix. Todd Bowles is going to confuse the heck out of him all day with different looks. And I think the defense gets a lot of pressure while the offense gets a great push from their offensive line. So I have the Bucs -7. And since I'm not doing the over-under, what I'm doing is for the Bucs specifically over 2.5 touchdowns, because we've seen them drive the ball down the field. Now, they only scored 2 touchdowns against the Lions, but they kicked several field goals. Even that first game against the Washington Commanders, they moved the ball and then kind of got shut down a little bit in the red zone. They still scored plenty of touchdowns. Baker Mayfield had 4 throwing touchdowns, but think about all the ones that they left on the board. So I think it's going to be a different tune when they do get into the red zone on Sunday. Again, being able to run the football more efficiently will be big time. So I think the Bucs score at least 3 touchdowns in this game. I think they're probably going to score 4 or 5. So I love the pick of over 2.5 touchdowns for the Buccaneers. Some player props to get to. A lot with Baker Mayfield. We'll start with him. We'll kind of end with him as well. Baker, over 1.5 touchdown passes. I think the fact that last game, at least offensively, was a little clunky and there wasn't a ton of, there was the big splash play to Chris Godwin, but outside of that, I don't think the Bucs were satisfied with how they played offensively, especially in the second half. But Baker's playing at an MVP level. I know the Broncos have Patrick Surtain, which we'll talk about him in just a minute. But there's a lot of weapons on this team. I think Baker will get a couple of nice play action moments going and hits his guys in the end zone. So over 1.5 touchdown passes for Baker Mayfield. Next up, a guy that's been involved in the Buccaneers offense, but we haven't seen him truly break out just yet. I think today or Sunday is going to be that day. Jaylen McMillan over 23.5 receiving yards. Now, he's made 2 catches in his career. One was a touchdown in week 1. The other one was a 21-yard reception in week 2, which was on the same drive that Baker Mayfield ran it in for a touchdown. So I think McMillan, with the Bucs needing to get other guys involved besides Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, McMillan becomes that next option outside of, some of the running backs and what they can do in the screen game. He only needs like 3 catches to get over those 23.5 receiving yards. We've seen already with McMillan, he's kind of their deep shot down the field. Now, he doesn't have the speed like Trey Palmer does, but when Baker has thrown to Jaylen McMillan, it's been deep. We know the drop that he had, that was 20 yards down the field. The touchdown was over 20 yards. He drew a pass interference penalty in week 1. That was over 20 yards. So if he even just gets a couple of targets, he should be able to surpass that. It's a pretty low number for a guy that's playing the same amount of snaps as Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So because of that, I think this is a week where McMillan gets a little bit more involved, and the Bucs will be able to test out some different things by gaining a big lead over the Broncos. So I'll take his prop with 23.5. This next one is more stat-based than it is about the matchups, because we know Mike Evans against Patrick Surtain is a great matchup. 2 awesome players at their positions. Surtain just got the big contract. So a lot of people might be thinking, oh, Mike is going to get locked up for this game. I don't necessarily see it that way, because we have to look at the history books a little bit. Since Mike Evans has entered the league, within his first 3 games played of every single season, he's had at least 1 game where he's recorded 100 receiving yards or more within the first 3 games in every year of his career, except for his rookie season in 2014 and in 2017. So from 2018 to 2023, and hopefully he can do it on Sunday in 2024, Mike Evans has at least recorded 100 receiving yards within his first 3 games, in a game within his first 3 games of the season. He had over 60 in week 1 and had just over 40 in week 2. So today's the 100-yard game, or Sunday's the 100-yard game coming for Mike Evans. They're going to find different ways to get him open, get him in motion. Surtain will probably follow, but you never know. But they're going to get creative. And Mike's also a great player. So great players make great plays, and that's what I'm banking on for Mike Evans. Going back to the Baker Mayfield for just a little bit. Baker's been Houdini running the football as of late. So I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid of Baker Mayfield scrambling, and we'll take Baker over 10.5 rushing yards. We've seen already, even though Washington didn't have a great pass rush, Baker does have to tuck it and run at times. I think there could be that situation on Sunday. So Baker continues to get the wheels in motion. I'm sure we'll get great, memes and clips out of it, and probably get Baker mic'd up after talking about it. So give me Baker over 10.5 rushing yards. It's just one scramble play where he needs to get it done. Hopefully he doesn't take any knees at the end of the game and Kyle Trask comes in and takes a knee or something like that. But yeah, why not? I mean, that's all Baker's doing right now is being Houdini, making plays, looking down the field. So he'll probably tuck it and run at one point or another. My last prop before we go to the touchdowns, going on the defensive side, I think this is the week where Yaya Diabi finally records a sack. He's been great with getting pressure. I think he's top 10 in the league in pressures so far, but Jaden Daniels just escaped him in week 1, and Jared Goff got rid of the ball quick enough in week 2. Another chance against a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix this time around. Bo Nix does not have the escapability that Jaden Daniels obviously has. So Yaya, this is the week. He's been getting pressure, but hasn't come down with the sack just yet. I think that all changes on Sunday, especially with the Broncos putting Mike McGlinchey, their starting right tackle, on injured reserve. So he won't be playing in the game. This is a fantastic opportunity for Yaya Diabi to take advantage of that and eat up with a sack in this game, maybe even 2. But at plus 160 for over a half a sack, I like those odds for Yaya. My touchdown prop, I tried riding Bucky 2 weeks in a row. It didn't work, so I'm going back to the greatest offensive player of all time, Mike Evans, plus 110 to score a touchdown in the game. Doesn't matter that it's Patrick Surtain. Mike is one of the greatest players of all time, best offensive player in Bucs history. You don't even need to think about this one too much. When the Bucs are in the red zone, Baker is looking Mike Evans' way. And hopefully he gets his 3rd touchdown of the season and more in the game on Sunday. So a lot of player props this week. Very excited about them. You're making tons and tons of cash if you've done the player props. And I want to keep my winning ways with the NFL and get back on it with college football too. So A lot of great games this week, some interesting matchups in college and the NFL. It should be a fun one for the Buccaneers coming up on Sunday. If you're not already doing so, please follow us on all of our social media and on Pewter Report on Facebook, X, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video. Let me know if there's any picks that you're taking this week that maybe I didn't mention, maybe some that you agree or disagree with. And, of course, you can find all of my info and my social media at Matty4_Matera. So that's going to do it this week. Hope it's another winner. Appreciate everybody for watching. Can't wait for the games on Saturday and Sunday. I'll be watching a lot of football. And let's win some money. Peace out.